Hi again, everyone. This is John Henry with YWAM Converge, part of the Student Mobilization Center of the University of the Nations. Converge helps students from any university find missional internship opportunities, working with organizations where they can learn to make a difference. They complete a personalized missions project related to their fields of study, the arts, business, education, journalism, medicine, media, and more. During these 30 days, and this is the 30th day of April, during these 30 days we've been going through 30 thoughts, and we're ending with the word and the thought, love. Love is a mystery word, really. C.S. Lewis spoke of a thing he called deep magic. And the word love relates to this kind of deep mystery of the gospel. We know love is the highest and the best of all the qualities that Peter lists in his progressive steps toward making your calling and election sure in 2 Peter chapter 1. We know that God reveals himself as love. The scriptures in 1 John say God is love. In 1 Corinthians 13:13, it says, and now these three remain, faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is love. So what is love? We know from Paul's writing that love is patient and it's kind and it does not envy and it does not boast. It's not proud. It does not dishonor others. It's not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. It does not keep a record of wrongs. It does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails, Paul writes to the Corinthians in 1 Corinthians 13. These are the ways love responds, because love is not a force or a feeling. Love is an action within relationship. In fact, love is relationship. Relationships do not happen without love being there. We would have no relationships if God were not the originator and the creator of all things. And he created everything with an intent and a choice. He chooses the highest and the best for all of his creation, including you. But look again at this progressive order from 2 Peter 1. We see that by faith, that we have everything we need. That comes from God. We know that who he is because he's revealed himself in the scriptures and through the testimony of the Spirit, which he gave to confirm the truth. He is the truth. And he is trustworthy. We submit our lives to him as Lord, and we learn from him, adding knowledge of all things that he's willing to show us and that we're willing to learn from him. And then we choose to respond to the world in which he's placed us. We exercise self-control. In other words, we say yes to this and no to that. We yield at a yield sign. We don't go to the refrigerator every 5 minutes. We put down sensual desires and we embrace right relationships, like we just went through from 1 Corinthians 13. So we see something about the world and we see something that's disconnected. In other words, what's not the way it ought to be. We are sent into the world as witnesses of his goodness, making him known in every arena of society, in every sphere of influence. But yes, I did say it, things are not the way he wants them to be, not everywhere. And to think so, I think, is in error. Because in Romans chapter 8, it says that all creation is groaning. Now, why would creation groan if it were all fine? And it also says that we ourselves are groaning because we know things are not all fine. And then it says that the Spirit himself groans within us the Spirit he sent to dwell within us is groaning. That's because everything is not the way it ought to be. So look at Hebrews chapter 2, verses 6 to 9. It says, "But there is a place where someone has testified, 'What is man that you're mindful of them? A son of man that you care for him? You made them a little lower than the angels. You crowned them with glory and honor and put everything under their feet.'" Who are them? Who are they? Who are their feet? That's us. In putting everything under them, God left nothing that is not subject to them. Okay? Everything's subject to us. But then it says, "At present we do not yet see everything subject to them, but we do see Jesus." So we're crowned with glory and honor. God intends good things for you and for me. He loves you. He chose you and he still chooses you. He loves you. And he intends for you, if you've entered into this love relationship with your Creator and Redeemer, to enter into his plan and his work to make all things subject to him. But how do we do that? Jesus showed us how. Look at the letter the Apostle Paul wrote to his friends at the city of Philippi while he was locked up in jail. Philippians chapter 2, verses 1 to 11. "Therefore, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from his love, if any common sharing in the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and of one mind. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Rather, in humility, value others above yourselves, not looking to your own interests, but each of you to the interests of the others. In your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Jesus Christ, who, being in very nature God, he had godliness. He had a vertical relationship with God. We see that in the progressive steps. We moved from self-control to perseverance to godliness. And then we come to the revelation that we are the sons of God, children of God. We stand in his presence, loved by him. We are by nature godly as his children. It's a gift of God. And he is and was by very nature, as he walked the earth, God. And he did not consider his equality with God something that he had to use to his own advantage. But instead he made himself nothing, taking on the very nature, another nature, as a servant. That means a horizontal relationship with all people in all of creation. Notice there's a vertical and a horizontal, and they intersect. There's a vertical relationship of integrity and of godliness. And there's a horizontal relationship of sacrifice and common grace, special grace, common grace. And there's a cross. This is the story of the cross. He was by very nature God and did not consider equality with God something to use for his own advantage. Rather, he made himself nothing, taking on the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness, and being found in appearance as a man. He humbled himself by becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. This is the pattern. This is the machine language. This is the language of love. It's for all of us to understand that though we may be godly and children of God, we do not separate ourselves from the world. We engage the world, as it says, add to godliness brotherly kindness. And if you do that, then you're getting revelation of what his love is and what the cross is. Jesus said, you take up your cross. This is not something we get a pass from. This is something he calls us to, in order to make him known, because everything out there in the world of the legal world and the education world and the business world is not the way it ought to be. And as believers go and engage those arena of society, those spheres of influence, they bring about a transformation because of the witness of the men and women of God who know their Father, they know in whom they believe, and they are engaged with the world as lovers. And then it says, therefore God highly exalted him to the place and to the highest place, and gave him the name that is above every name, that at the name of Jesus every knee should bow, in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue acknowledge that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. So after all, adding all these qualities, keep this in mind from 1 Corinthians 13, 1-3. It says, if I speak in the tongues of men and angels, but do not have love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have the faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I'm nothing. If I give all I possess and give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. So we've been going through progressive steps toward revelation of the calling of God and confirming it, making our calling and election sure, as it says in 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 10. But we go all the way to love, and then we realize that is the place of humility, not the place of exaltation. It's the place of service, the place of surrender, the place of the cross, the place of love. That's the 30th thought for the week, or for the 30 days. And I thank you for paying attention. I hope that you'll share this. Let me know if you liked it. And remember, during this coronavirus crisis, don't touch your face, as I think I did a couple times here. Wash your hands. Sanitize surfaces and doorknobs. Keep a safe social distance. We'll get through this coronavirus crisis together. Thanks again for listening.